everybody, and welcome to our 12 Books Before Christmas event today. And I have a special guest on today. His name is Tom McCarthy. And welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to tell you, I'm so glad you're here too. Tom is a retired and he resides in McKinney, Texas, grew up in Northern Kentucky, community of Fort Thomas, and that's just across the river, literally from Cincinnati, Ohio. And he was educated at St. Xavier High School, which I just told him we live about 3 miles from there. And he graduated with a BA degree in theater from Thomas More College in Crestview Hills, Kentucky. Tom spent 30 years in the commercial wall covering business, and then he retired in 2016. And he has just recently moved to McKinney, Texas from Cincinnati, so he could be closer to his daughter and son-in-law. And then he also has a son and a daughter-in-law in Oregon. Tom enjoys golf, outdoor sports with his grandsons, reading, and he's involved in various student and alumni activities at St. Xavier High School. And he does like to try editing for his friends and family if they write books or anything else. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
So let's start off with talking about your book that you published, self-published. And I love the name of it, and I love the idea behind it, because it's always fun to have a laugh about stories, even if they're hard stories, instead of, hard stuff. Yeah. So your book is, and I have it right here, I know it Foils into Fables. Foils into Fables When Truth is Funnier Than Fiction. So tell me about your book.
Well, it's a combination of, or a collection, I should say, of various stories that and experiences that I have noted from the time of growing up to my traveling days. And when I would come home from traveling or some kind of experience, I would always be able to tell a story at the dinner table or at a cocktail party about just some kind of crazy incident that may have happened during my travels. And so I always had a willing audience at the dinner table as well as at a cocktail party. And my kids would always tell me, "Oh, Dad, you should write that down. Oh, Dad, you should write that down." And so over the period of time, I just kind of wrote some notes down and kind of collected a few things. And then when I retired, I decided that would be something that I wanted to do, would be put this collection of stories, of incidences, all with some humor to it, of course, but not to tell a long bio or anything like that. It's funny memoir stories that I think many people may have experienced at least once in their life.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Do you have a special one of those events you'd like to share? Or
well, yes, there's one that comes to mind, and I'll make it very, very brief. But in a traveling back from Japan one time, I was in first class, and there was a gentleman next to me, and we were flying back at night, and I had inadvertently covered up his keypad that operates his seat with my blanket. And as I was trying to make mine work, I had no idea that I was contorting this gentleman into pretzel-like shape, because I was operating his keypad thinking it was mine. And he did not want to have a confrontation. But finally, when his knees were up around his chest, he finally took the thing and he just yelled at me, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Because I had no idea. I thought mine was broken, and everything I did operated him. So,
oh my gosh.
Stories. It was kind of I won't say international incident, but it was a great, ugly American story.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That is funny. Sandy's on here, and she said, "Hi, Tom." So,
hi, Sandy. How are you?
Sandy, thanks for joining us. I'm going to ask you just a couple of things. What was the most challenging part about writing your book?
Getting started. I think that's a universal issue. And I think what I learned from coaches and classes and things like that, start writing. The technical stuff will fall into place later on. You'll have professionals like yourself that will guide you, give you direction, and help you through this thing. But think about your audience. What do you want to accomplish, and start writing. And then you can worry about the technical issues later on.
Yeah, that is what we hear from a lot of people. And I'll be honest, even with myself, I have 3 ideas in my head, and it's about just starting to start writing and getting into the habit. I think even if you start writing 15 minutes a day, just on different things, at different topics, or, prompts that you have, it helps you get into that groove of writing, and then it's easier to get going.
I also believe that you'll find yourself, like I did when I started writing, is that it becomes contagious, in the sense that, boy, this would be good. Or I hear a twist of a phrase, or a turn of a phrase, or a word. Yes, and you start to write these things down and put them in your notes that you want to use. And I found for myself that I was best writing in the morning. Really wasn't very good at the end of the day, but I could really formulate my thoughts and express them in words and write them down. So I always try to carve out an hour or two or whatever during my best time of day, which was the morning. So
Yeah,
I think you
that's
have to get into a little habit of that.
right. And that's what we educate our people on. Or I just shared 20 tasks to understand, know, and complete before publishing. I did a series of Facebook Lives last month. And one of the things we talked about is right when when you feel most creative. For some people, it's first thing in the morning. Other people, it might be after the kids and everybody's gone to bed. But
Right.
whenever you're most creative, it's great to write at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what's one piece of advice you might give to authors or somebody wanting to start their book, besides getting started in just writing? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Think about your audience. My intention in writing this was really at the behest, as I said, of my children, to say, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have a book of dad or grandpa's funny stories that you could pass down? So think about who your audience is. And mine was immediate family and friends. And once you do that, then you can get into the mindset of telling your story, because you know who your audience is.
That is a great piece of advice. And because if you don't know who you're writing to, you don't know which way to go. You don't know what to say, what to write. Yeah.
And
So,
you tend to just go off in tangents and things.
and wander. Right, right, right. Well, that is great. And I will tell you that everyone watching, if you have any questions for Tom or myself, put them in the comments here. And I will share Tom's link to Amazon where you can purchase his book if you'd like to after the call here. And so now, Tom, I'm going to talk about my favorite book, one of my favorite books, since it's a 12 Books of Christmas. And we're just kind of having fun with this, having people share what their favorite books are. They can be business books, they can be life books like yours, fiction or nonfiction. And so today I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you've heard of Rachel Hollis. She's an author. And one of the books I read from her was Girl, Wash Your Face. And I thought of this book today because of your book, The Foils and Fables, and how life events can turn into funny things or whatever. But she, one thing that she says and what she wants to get across to people is our life is up to us. We make it as happy as we want to be, and we can choose to do that. And she tells stories that are funny, weird, they're embarrassing, sad, and crazy, but it all comes to that one truth that our life is up to us and it's ours. And what we do with it is up to us. So the one thing she wrote in this book, this chapter, was all about the lies that women are mostly told, different lies, and we start to believe that stuff, and then we don't live to our full potential. And so society and the media, our families, they tell us these things, and then we're not good enough, we're a bad mother, we're too fat, we're not thin enough, that kind of stuff. But once we recognize these lies and we start working on becoming the better version of ourselves, that's how we can become a happier person. Because we don't have to be 105 pounds and wear a size 0 to be happy. We might think, that before we start working on ourselves, but we don't have to be. But she tells stories in the book that were, just funny. You would be laughing at one point and then you'd really be crying or thinking, wow, I can't believe she had to go through that. But she tells these, the book starts with these lies, like something else will make me happy. Doing something else will make me happy. That's a lie. I'll start tomorrow. Oh boy, we'll start that diet tomorrow, or we'll start exercising tomorrow,
Yeah.
or I'll start my book tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes unless we work on that. The lie about I'm not good enough. That's in our minds, and we are all good enough. We just have to work on that. And oh, I like this one because I just turned 60 last month. And I think this sometimes, but I should be further along by now. Like, why aren't I retired yet? Why aren't I, doing whatever? But we can work until we die if we choose to do that. We can always make changes and do better. It doesn't matter how old we are. So I wanted to share that book today, Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel.
That's good.
And then your book that you wanted to share, why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the book is 20 years old. It came out in 1990.
Uh-huh.
Prolific author and who I've enjoyed reading for a long time. His name is Nelson DeMille.
Okay.
And he wrote a book back in 1990 called Gold Coast. Mm-hmm. And what I appreciated about his writing style was he injected in serious matters sarcasm, a sardonic, kind of a cynical point of view, but it painted the picture of an exasperated, frustrated person. And his characters were really developed. It was also a very plausible plot line. What would happen if you lived in a very nice neighborhood, a house goes up for sale, and a mafia don buys that house? You happen to be an attorney, and he comes and he makes small talk, and now he asks you to do him a little favor. And all of a sudden you get drawn into his life doing legal and then ultimately illegal things. You have a wife who is unfaithful. I mean, and you have a job and a position that's going downhill, and your business is failing. It is a wonderful story of things that spiral out of control, but it's very, very enjoyable. He's a great wordsmith, and as well as putting layers on his character on every chapter.
Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Boy,
Yeah.
Think of yourself in that kind of situation too, like you described. You're my gosh.
Yeah, it's entertaining. So, and the best part about it is that the story ends, but the journey doesn't. And as a good writer, he allows his characters to develop. But at the end of this story, you want to know more, what happens in their next stage. And that's what allows him to write sequels without being formulaic.
Yeah.
So you cannot wait for the next sequel or something to finish the story, which he did several years later, called The Gatehouse, which was a follow-up to it. So as a writer, he has a lot of techniques and a lot of strategies that he uses to entertain you and keep you amused, I think.
Oh, that's great. I might have to look into that. It sounds interesting. It sounds very interesting. Yeah. Well, everybody listening, if you would like to write in here what one of your favorite books is, and I know Sandy, besides the book you wrote, what's one of your favorite books you like to read? We'd love to hear from you guys if you want to put that in the chat room here. And anything else you'd like to share with us today, Tom?
Well, nothing other than I think this is a marvelous vehicle for people who are housebound, COVID tired, but also enjoy the art of writing as well as of reading. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great forum, and I appreciate being part of it today. I think look forward to hearing other people's stories and getting a list of must reads.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And if you hold on here 1 second, I'll get back to you in just a minute. Everybody, thank you very much. Defending Jacob, that's Sandy's, one of her favorite books, Defending Jacob. Sandy, I'll have to look into that. Thank you for sharing that. And everybody, I'll be back on tomorrow telling you about my favorite book. And then we have a lineup next week of several different people that are going to join me on these Facebook 12 books before Christmas. Enjoy. And also I'd like to invite anybody to our book club, which is going to start again on January 4th, Monday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you go to Making Your Book Your Business group, and our next book is going to be Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks.